Mission accomplished. If you are the hunky murderer, as a lot of people have dubbed him, if you're him and your goal was to start a conversation, did you just not start a conversation? People talking about healthcare all over the place. And it's funny, it's not a left-wing issue, a right-wing. Everybody I know is frustrated with healthcare. But I don't blame the individual who is running the company. I don't blame him. I don't blame the lady that's the executive vice president of a company over here, or the lady that's running this, or a guy that's running that. I don't. There's a lot to it. But if your goal was, I'm going to start a conversation, how? You went and shot a guy. Now you've ruined your life. You've destroyed your life. It's it. It's done. You got nothing now. You're now that they found fingerprints, you're done for. You're never getting out of jail again. And people forget that the way, if he's in most states that have the death penalty, he's going to get it because he lied in wait. This wasn't a reaction. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't a drive-by or anything. He lied in wait. He hunted down an individual and killed him. Start a conversation? There's better ways to start a conversation. I mean, that's the definition of terror, because that's the big thing now that people are afraid of, because you got CEOs all over going, oh, my God, am I next? That's a big question. But the definition of terror is you're using violence as a means to try to persuade something. And that's terrifying right there. I mean, when you talk about why these groups all over the world do what they do, because their goal is to try to get people to change their minds, to scare them into doing something else. And in this situation, he's accomplished some of that. You got people fawning all over him. It's insane. And at the same time, you got a guy like Daniel Penny. Here's a guy, a Marine, going to school in New York. And what happens? He's on a subway when Jordan Neely comes in, threatening people, doing all of these things that a normal person wouldn't do. And we'll talk about Jordan Neely later. And when all of that is happening, he takes it into his own hands, along with several other people who, by the way, held down Jordan Neely. And he gets prosecuted for that and not treated as a hero in the public, outside of people on the right, but really as a pariah. And another person who kills a law-abiding citizen who was going for a walk in New York, there for a conference, and shoots him. Shoots him in the back, by the way. Very chumpy. Like, I love cowboy shows. You guys are going to learn this about me because, I'll be on from noon to 3 now. I live for cowboy. Like, Gunsmoke's my favorite show in the history of mankind. You know what you don't do? In Gunsmoke, these guys would bring in a killer, and he would be shot in the back. A guy wanted for killing 20 people, and everybody would be like, man, you're pretty awful for shooting him in the back while he was sleeping. You killed a guy, shot him in the back, and you're celebrated. And again, part of that is because of what you look like. Let's be real. I mean, part of what there is, we live in this time. We're a very vapid society, right? There's a reason that life is going sideways. You don't want to know when everything started to go to hell in a handbasket? When they put the camera on the front of the phone, where I could look at myself by taking a picture of myself. And that's when everything went really sideways. But this guy's there's all kinds of, you can go online. They're turning him into a martyr. They're turning him into this thing. Says, But he started a conversation. And now the question is, what's the next nut job that is going to do something? Who's the next one? And the fact that we are going to have executives have to have security like we're in a third world country or place like, so Mexico, you go to Mexico and you're anybody, you better have security. You better. You go to South America? Oh. So my buddy has a big trading company, trades all kinds of stocks, commodities, things of that nature, mostly commodities. And when the World Cup was there, son was little, and he said, "Hey, dude, you should come over for the World Cup." I'm like, "Dude, I don't want to go. I don't go to Brazil, man." He goes, "Don't worry about it, man. We get so much security. You'll never have to worry about a thing." And I'm thinking to myself, "Wait, what? I don't want to go somewhere where I have to have security to visit." Are we going to get to that point? But let's talk about healthcare for a quick sec, because I heard from a lot of you over the last couple of days. It's funny because many of you are on the right, but you're as frustrated as everybody else. You're as frustrated as everybody else over healthcare and the fight of healthcare and government. And the funny thing is, government got involved in more ways than people realized. When you allowed the health insurance companies to essentially write the law for you, you got in bed with them. So no matter what conversation you start about the frustration that everybody has, the expense of healthcare, and for those of you who didn't listen to me the other day, my healthcare payments for my family, I could afford a $500,000 home. That's how insane it is. Frustration through the roof. But I've lived with socialized medicine. Are there some upsides to not getting a bill? Yeah, you know what? You're never going to go bankrupt in that way. And go look at most of our bankruptcies. But when you allowed them to craft this, when you put restrictions on them so I can't shop for better rates across state lines, when you do those things, you handcuff them. Because let me tell you what big business loves more than anything else. Regulations. They do. They love it. Why do they love it? Simple. If I'm really, really regulated, it's because I'm really, really big. And if I'm really, really big, you can't afford to get in the game. Too hard for you. Too hard. So rather than create a monopoly of one, there's a monopoly of a few. And you and I and everybody else get reduced to a number. But it's still better than what's out there. It's still better than the nightmare of having to wait God knows how long for just a routine procedure. It's crazy. I saw this, I'll see if I can find it. This Army vet, she is driving, talking about how she's coming back to America because she lives in Canada, but she's an American that lives there, and she has to come back here because the VA will look at her because she has cancer and her numbers are up, but she can't get in to see somebody. And I've said this all along. If you break your arm, you know what? Being in Canada ain't a bad thing. Being in Britain, I know if I had to go to some routine, it wasn't a big deal. But if you're really sick, you want to come here because we have the best of everything, and it is expensive. It is really expensive, and it is frustrating. And we can all be that. But killing somebody to start a conversation is a no. Because now what you've done is you've put other people in harm's way. And that's what he did. And then to top it off, you've turned yourself into a sex symbol of which women will never date you because you're going to be in jail forever. But don't be surprised if he gets married. That's how crazy that is. What's that say about us? And by the way, that's gone on through time. Go look at all the nut job chicks that dug Charles Manson. And the Night Stalker. Man, that new Night Stalker documentary talking about the woman that he married, but all these women that loved him. It's just, the whole thing is bizarre, and it's a sad, sad situation that a father is no longer with his kids, that a husband is no longer with his wife, and that this guy threw his entire life away, causing pain for families as well as his. And while you start a conversation, here's something I can guarantee. Based on the size of the lobby, you're not changing anything. You're not. You're not. You may have started a conversation of frustration, but that conversation will only last for a little while because the money's too big, the lobby's too strong. So this dream of socialized medicine, which you're going to have now because you're going to be in prison, and in prison, you don't have insurance. The state pays for you. So if your dream was to get socialized medicine, congratulations, you've got it, just not the way you wanted it. It's a weird world, man. Weird, weird world. What's up, Mason? How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. How you doing?
Doing good. So they called me today, and they're like, Dan is really, he's not going to make it. And I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah, he's towing that line, man. He's just sitting there.
He is. Well, you always knew that, he could go right back under the wagon and right back into the Red Ryder wagon he went, and away he went. So, and apparently he's not going to be here tomorrow either, which is a shame because he's going to be missed. So I'll be back again tomorrow.
Ooh.
Look at you. By the way, I roll in here I get here at 5 in the morning. No, I didn't get here at 5. I got here. No, you rolling in here right as like the show starts.
Well, so, okay, I had a little issue that happened this morning.
Let's hear it.
I was driving into work this morning. Peachy Keen, love it sitting in traffic. And I passed something a little familiar. My brother is pulled over on the side of the road in his car.
No way.
Because his tire blew up, essentially. It looks like a nice little rubber ring sitting around the frame of his car, around his rim on his tire, just pulled over on the side of the road. And so I pulled over and was like, dude, are you all right? Is everything okay? Did you get hit? And he was like, no. I just blew up my tire, essentially, and have been sitting here waiting on AAA. So I got out the car, helped him change that tire real quick, just to at least get the spare on. And that was a fun little issue there, but was able to get him.
Ladies, did you hear that? A man who can change a tire.
I can change tires. I'm just saying.
That's it. So, man, but he's okay.
He's good.
Because
good.
This morning, I'm watching Chris and everything, and I'm getting ready because I had to do my other show, and I'm like, it's snowing, and I kept going outside, going, I don't see the snow. I don't see any snow. Am I in the right place? But
it's snowing somewhere, just not here.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I just wondered if he crashed or something.
Oh, no, thank goodness.
Black ice or something like that.
Yeah, that would have been wild. Yeah, thank goodness he avoided all that stuff.
So, right on. Mason's here, as always. I'm in for Chris, who was in for Dan today. My name's Chad Benson, if you're new. I'm taking over from noon to 3 for our man Murphy, who's going to be taking over for Brian Wilson starting on the 2nd of January. This is Super Talk 99.7.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Well, he is accused of assassinating a healthcare executive, but police say he's also becoming a hero to some. The Murfreesboro School Board throws out a well-known pastor from last night's school board meeting. We'll tell you what's going on there. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I wasn't hung. I told you, mother.
Whoa!
Bro, call the cops!
That right there, if you've not seen it, have you seen it, Mason? That is a guy who was mad at the dealership he bought the car at earlier in the day, wanted to take it back. They told him no, so he drove it through the front of the dealership, right into their lobby.
That's wild.
Yes. We know you have many places to shop, and we thank you for shopping at Tim Dale Mazda Southtown in Sandy. And he told him, I was bringing it back. And it was so bizarre because I think he knew the minute he went through, oh my God, what have I done? And luckily he didn't hit anybody. And the whole time he took his jacket off and then he walked out. And then he walked out the door, by the way. He left a huge hole, but he went out the door. And it was so crazy. Like, we've got this point where people are so frustrated.
Just doing rash things.
Yeah.
He's lucky he didn't kill someone, you know?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
There were people inside.
Yeah, there were. Because they were, it's the middle of the day. And he bought it earlier. In some states, you have a cooling off period. You have like a 3-day period where, like, if you don't want it, you take it back.
Yeah.
The lemon laws.
Yeah. They didn't have that in Utah. And he was, oh, my God, he was mad. And he probably bought it, didn't tell his wife. And it's a Subaru. So his wife's like, I don't play softball. So, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, Chad. Is that a lesbian joke? Maybe. So he took his jacket off and he's like, I'll put it back on. But nobody, I've been at places where everybody would run over, grab that guy out of the car and beat the crap out of him.
Oh, absolutely. Or at least pinned him down until the cops could have gotten there.
They all just kind of stood there and it's like, is everybody okay? It's Utah, so everybody's really nice. Like, is everybody okay? Fantastic. So
we good? We're okay.
Oh, yeah, I told you guys I was coming. And it was but it was so crazy. That's where we are in this world. That's it. We're turning a guy who's smoldering good looks into a Robin Hood. And I said this, you're not Robin Hood, bro. Robin Hood would have went in. He would have given back everybody's premiums. That's what he would have done. He would have went in there. He would have hacked. He would have given back everybody's premiums, Luigi. By the way, yesterday, he goes into the courtroom and he's there and he starts screaming and yelling, it's whatever baloney he was screaming and yelling. But there are a bunch of people there because there's always one in the crowd. And he saw, Luigi, it's me, Mario. It's me, Mario.
It's me.
It's me, your brother.
I have a superstar for you. It would help.
So,
jeez, that's so funny.
his social media page blew up overnight too. When he gained hundreds of thousands of followers. So if you're wondering how to go viral, that's probably not the best way because you're never going to be able to use a computer again.
Yeah.
But you're getting likes, you're getting shares, you're getting the follow if that's what you're interested in. And for some people, that's all they're interested in. It's crazy. But when I watch this guy here drive through, and I put it on go to @ChadBensonShow if you want to check it out on Twitter, because it is so bizarre. And again, road rage, frustration, all of that stuff. Okay, maybe every once in a while, but you just drove through. You could have killed somebody. It's not like you drove there and just threw the keys at him. I mean, you drove right in and threw the keys at him. And we've got an anger management issue in this country. I think we're going to need to start dealing with it. And I noticed after COVID, everybody's manners went away. Because I've flown a million times in my life. I have never been in a situation where, we're going to have to turn this plane around, mister. And it's like, I talk to people all the time. It's like, yeah, there was an incident on the plane. I've never been in that situation. I've never. And yet it seems to happen all the time, more and more. And I ask people who are, the air waitresses, I say to them, that's not very, they're not called that. Whatever, the flight attendants, I'm sorry. I say, was it like this pre-COVID and stuff? They said, no, it's gotten a lot worse. Now granted, we see a lot more because we have phones and everything, but it's gotten a lot worse. We have an anger management problem, like Mason does.
Yeah, there's a reason glass is a partition between us.
You throw down.
I throw stuff, man.
That's it. He is
I get
Mason.
mad.
I am Chad, in for Chris, who will be back on, I think, Friday. Tomorrow, it's the same kind of thing. So a lot of stuff to talk to. We're not just going to talk about all this baloney. We'll talk about something real. In the sick and twisted world we live in, it's maybe not as sick and twisted as we think. But we're going to talk about a new amusement park kind of thing to go look at. It's weird. We're going to talk about that straight ahead. It is Super Talk 99.7.
Good morning, 9:30 here, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Stick around. Your forecast is coming up. Alleged CEO killer Luigi Mangione is still behind bars in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where he was arrested at a McDonald's earlier this week. He was dragged into court yesterday, shackled and handcuffed while shouting about an insult to the intelligence of the American people. He's been fighting extradition back to New York. And police this morning have said they have linked fingerprints found at the scene to Luigi Mangione. Meantime, there is a disturbing trend of sympathy for the shooter, the alleged shooter.
Google has now removed a flood of negative reviews posted for a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, after an employee there tipped off police about Mangione's location. People are also now selling mugs and shirts that say "Deny, Defend, and Depose." The words police say were found on bullets at the crime scene, matching the title of a book on why insurance companies don't pay claims. Some sites quick to remove the merchandise, sympathetic to Mangione, concerned about glorifying violence.
That's ABC's Andrew Dimbird. Now, also a bulletin from the NYPD warns of new threats to executives, including an online hit list naming the names and salaries of the top 8 executives in the country. The bulletin also shows wanted posters of corporate executives hanging up near Wall Street. Well, the pastor who's challenging school boards around the country over gender identity books on school library shelves got kicked out of a school board meeting in Murfreesboro last night. John Amanchukwu tells Chris Hand this morning he was there to speak about the school board spending money on books like It Feels Good to Be Yourself.
A whopping one person showed up to speak, and that was me. I was the only one who signed up to have public comment.
Really?
And yes, and then one of the school board leaders wears a shirt that says, "Ban the fascists, save the book."
Now, the school board chair complained that Amanchukwu was off topic and threw him out with a police escort. The pastor's comments, however, drew cheers from those in attendance. That's the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
We'll get back to the chaos of the hunky killer. But I was fascinated by this story. Many of you probably around my age. Some of you probably a little bit older. Mason, how old are you?
26.
26, still a pup. So, 1978, I was also still a pup. There was a guy. Earlier than that, there was a guy who had fled Indianapolis, went to San Francisco, and built his People's Temple. Things got a little hot there in San Francisco, so he persuaded about 1,000 people to sell all their crap and to build a communist, socialist utopia in a little South American country, Guyana. So they all head over there. And I'm fascinated. I think a lot of people, we have this weird fascination in this country and in this world, by the way, of death. And it's an odd thing that, I said earlier, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, gave her father 41. You could go stay at the house where the murders were. It's a bed and breakfast now. I mean, that's kind of what we are. Chernobyl. There's big business in certain tourism. And certain tourism is dangerous, right? You can actually, one of the big things right now is going to Ukraine to see the war. If you go back to Civil War days, they used to have picnics on the hills to watch the battles. So we have this weird fascination with certain things. So, quick, if you don't remember Jonestown, Leo Ryan, congressman, California, gets a lot of his constituents say, hey, I can't get a hold of my family members. They've disappeared. Some of them had come back and said, it's crazy. He and a lady named Jackie Spears and a few people go down to Guyana to see what the hell's going on. So they go down there. And Leo's there. And by all accounts, Leo says, hey, man, these recordings aren't great, but this is actually from the day of the incident.
A few conversations I've had with some of the folks here already this evening that whatever the comments are, there are some people here who believe that this is the best thing that ever happened to them in their whole life.
So the best things that ever happened to them in their whole life. But then somebody slips them a note. Then another person, then another person, another person, another person, another person. Hey, they want to go. They're being held against their will, et cetera, et cetera. So they go to the plane next day. There's an NBC4 camera with them from San Francisco local station. And there is footage of it. While they're at the plane ready to take off, trucks drive up, kill Leo, several other people, shoot Jackie Spears. And that's when Jim Jones knew that it was all over. And he knew. It's like, there's nothing he could do now, right? Like, he's in Guyana. He just had a bunch of people killed. And he still has about 900 people there. His kid, oddly enough, is Jim Jones Jr., happened to be in town that day doing something. But he knew it was over. And so he got everybody to do the unthinkable.
Beg you, don't fail to follow my advice. You'll be sorry. Station of stepping over to the next plane. We've set an example for others. We've set 1,000 people to say we don't like the way the world is. You stop. Take our life from us. We laid it down. We got tired. We didn't commit suicide. We committed an act of revolutionary suicide, protesting the conditions of an inhumane world.
And that was it. Well, now, Guyana's looking around going, man, there's not a lot going on here. We don't got oil. We don't got all this crazy stuff that we would want. Maybe we got some oil, maybe we don't. I don't know, but there's talks of that. But we need to do something at this point in time. And we got this giant complex that's still out here, covered up by leaves. Let's turn it into a tourist attraction.
The site of the Jonestown massacre, one of the most infamous murder-suicides in recent history, could soon become a tourist attraction. That's right. Jonestown, Guyana in South America is where cult leader Jim Jones and more than 900 of his followers, including hundreds of children, died back in 1978.
Yes. Now, most of the people died by force, actually. A couple of people were shot, but most of the people were actually forced to either drink it or syringes. And it was awful. And now they want to turn it into a tourist attraction. And my first thought was, that's awful. And my second thought is, we do it for everything else. We do. I mean, it's, when you think, again, morbid fascination. You go stay at Lizzie Borden's place. You can go to Chernobyl if you want. You can go to Auschwitz. And I know people say, well, that's different. It's history. Well, isn't this? You can go to 9/11. You can go to Ground Zero. There are things that we go to, some to pay respects. But Auschwitz is a different thing because that's one of the things Jackie Spears, who was a congresswoman for a very long time, she ended up taking over Leo Ryan's seat after he was killed. But my thought process was, Auschwitz wasn't a war. It was a result of the horrors of the Nazi regime. But it was a killing factory. Well, Birkenau was. Auschwitz and Birkenau were next to each other. It was. And I've been there. And it's, it is horrific. When you see what conditions they lived in, when you see what it was like, it is awful. But when you go to Normandy, that was a war. That was a battle, right? You go to Gettysburg, those were battles. We still have this morbid fascination with many of these things, and some people aren't thrilled by it.
Former Congresswoman Jackie Spear joins us now live. Just right off the bat, what's your reaction to hearing that Jonestown may now become a tourist attraction?
Well, it's macabre, to say the very least, and not worthy of people visiting the site, frankly. I mean, I think this is all about making money by an adventure travel agency and maybe the government of Guyana. And frankly, it's in a jungle setting at a remote airstrip. And from what I understand, all of the buildings have been overtaken by the jungle. So I find it just appalling, to say the least.
Well, she was shot there, by the way. I spoke to her, I don't know, about a dozen years ago when I was in California. She came on my show, and she had a bill or something that she was trying to get, like they all do. They'll all come on your show when they got a bill, right? Like they got something they want to pass. And so she came on my show, but I said, look, I'll talk about your bill, but I do want to ask you some questions. And she was there that day. She got shot. And again, I understand why it's macabre, but you know what? Young people will go. If it was in your backyard, would you not be curious? And it sounds like, ugh, but then you're like, well, wait a minute here. How many people will go, oh, that's where so-and-so got shot, or that's where such and such happened? We do that because we have this weird fascination. There's a reason that when you go look at all the big podcasts that are out there, the big, what are they? Outside of Joe Rogan and a few others, they're all murder podcasts because we have this bizarre fascination with the macabre. I lived in England for on and off for a decade. Do you know how many times I went on the Ripper Walk and everybody's laughing and having a good time, forgetting the fact that a little over 100 plus years ago, there was a man who butchered women. But you go on it. I went to the London dungeon when I was like 13. It was one of the, it was like, here in London and I'm over there playing soccer. We go to this thing called the London dungeon. We get to see all the stuff they used to do and how they used to torture people. And I was like, oh, you're fascinated. And it is. It's a weird, bizarre fascination that we have. I don't know why. I don't know what it is in our human instinct is this weird to go towards the macabre, to any of that stuff. There's a reason there's ID channel and the court channel and all of these things, because we kind of are interested in stuff like this. So could I see people going to this? Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and that's, as you said, it's not worthy, which may answer the next question I have, which is that the tourism minister in Guyana, there's a lot of government support for this, evoked Rwanda. Tour operator referenced Auschwitz. You do not believe these are in the same category?
I mean, there were 6 million people killed during the Holocaust. Rwanda, millions of people who were taken. This was a cult. Now, if you want to do a museum on cults and why they're bad and how these megalomaniacs can attract people to their congregations, maybe there's some value to that.
I don't know, but we are fascinated with the macabre. I mean, even now, you've got a guy that went and killed an innocent man walking down the street, and people are fascinated with him. It's a bizarre thing that we have this weird, twisted thing in our mind, and it's got to be something that has been there for centuries. That's way back in the brain, the recesses of our mind. And I have been to a lot of places. Like I said, I've been to Auschwitz. I've been to Normandy. I've been to Braun Castle, which is where Vlad the Impaler was. That guy killed so many people in such brutal ways that you can't even believe it. Oh, by the way, they also have a little store in there. So on the way out, the gift shop, grab yourself something. If you don't know who Vlad the Impaler is, he is the inspiration for Dracula. So why? Why do we do this? Why do we elevate somebody in a certain way? It is a bizarre thing, but we do it. We do it, and it is weird. Speaking of weird, what's going on in New Jersey? We're going to talk about that. Are they aliens? Are they foreign invaders? Ooh. Bunch of other things. My name is Chad Benson. I'm in for Chris, who was in for Dan. We're going to do this again tomorrow. Dan's not feeling well. He apparently took a bunch of throat coat, and things have gone sideways in his life. It's a shame. He was a good guy. I liked him. Took me to lunch once. Good luck to you, Dan. We wish you all the best. This is Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Luigi Mangione's lawyer says the case against him so far isn't really clear-cut. We'll tell you what he is claiming. Also, there is new evidence that fentanyl is wreaking havoc in Davidson County. Those stories at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Look in the skies of New Jersey. What the hell is it?
Sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern.
If you're aliens, you're not going to New Jersey, right? Forget about it.
Come on, New Jersey's not that bad.
Forget about it. Forget about it. You know what I'm
Up
saying?
there, man.
Come on.
You're talking about North Jersey, and I get it.
Could you imagine? So these things are huge. They're the size of cars.
They're
And anytime a
commercial
light
grade.
comes on them, they disappear.
Yeah. Something creepy.
And what I love about it is the way that our guys are like, is it dangerous? The guy's like, probably, I don't know. You guys really looking at it? Is it any of ours? No. So it's either aliens or it's a foreign adversary. Those are our two choices. These are the best bad ideas we have. I'm curious. Mason's like, I would totally do that.
It's like, I kind of would rather it be aliens.
I
at
want
this
to be
point.
aliens too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping it's aliens.
Yeah, because like I feel like a couple of years ago, the government come out and be like, yeah, aliens are real.
Yeah, well, of course.
Trying to distract us from everything
all the
else.
time.
But
That's it. Well, once that comes out, all bets are off. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to listen to anybody. I'm never paying taxes again. Aliens are real.
you can't tell me anything. You lied to me about aliens.
My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Chris. He'll be back on Friday doing his normal stuff. He's in for Dan. This is Super Talk 99.7.
Good morning. It is now 10 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The lawyer for the suspected killer of a top health insurance executive says the case so far is not really open and shut against his client. ABC's Chuck Sievertson reports.
About those alleged writings sources say NYPD investigators have from Luigi Mangione attacking the U.S. health insurance industry and calling corporations parasites.
There's a rule of completeness, so you have to take any writing or any document in its entirety because some things can be taken out of context.
Mangione's attorney Thomas Dickey on the gun police say they found on his client.
A lot of guns look the same.
And?
I don't even know if that evidence would be admissible.
He says he expects police ballistics to match the gun to the shooting.
Not sure how he'll explain away this one. CNN is reporting that the fingerprints lifted from a water bottle and from food wrappers that were left behind at the scene of the shooting match those of Luigi Mangione. Well, the preacher who travels the country exposing gender ideology books for young children at school libraries got himself kicked out of the Murfreesboro School Board meeting last night.
But last night, they sent in 5 cops to stop me. They surrounded me, encircled me. And, when I delivered my message as the board chairman tried to gavel me down, I started reading from the book. And then the gentleman who was wearing the shirt, Mr. Richardson, he asked for the book. And so I walked up there and handed him the book.
That's John Emanchukwu talking with Chris Hand this morning. But by handing the board member a book, another board member claimed that he was acting in a threatening manner, and those police escorted him out. Emanchukwu was there to expose the gender identity book called It Feels Good to Be Yourself for 4 to 8-year-olds at Murfreesboro's Bradley Academy. Well, there's new evidence that fentanyl contributes to overwhelming numbers of overdose deaths in this area. Metro Public Health Department is out with a new report that looked at the first 3 quarters of this year in Davidson County. It says there were 391 overdose deaths, and 72% of them involved fentanyl. The synthetic opioid is 100 times stronger than morphine, and it is often prescribed to treat patients in severe pain. Market Numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow Jones Industrials right now down 40. We've got the NASDAQ up 254 points. The S&P 500 index is up by 39. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
So he kills somebody, and then he kills somebody. One of them meant to, the other one didn't. One was hoping to be a martyr and seems to have moved in that direction. The other one just wanted to get on the subway and go somewhere. It's interesting how we look at people, and I find this interesting. So Daniel Penny is out speaking. Of course, he was acquitted of all charges in the killing of Jordan Neely. And we'll get to that in a second. But the disdain by the left for him is tremendous. Last night talking about really, going through what he went through on that day. And it's fascinating because here's a guy who faced quite a lot of prison time the other day.
I don't really extend myself. Like, this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is very uncomfortable, and I would prefer without it. I didn't want any type of attention or praise. The guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, if he did do what he was threatening to do, would never be able to live with myself. I'll take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt or killed.
All he wanted to do was just go from point A to point B. That was it. Jordan Neely disrupted everything, threatening the whole 9 yards. And he was acquitted. But the disdain, the anger that people had over him. On the other side, you've got somebody who's now becoming a martyr, who women are fawning over because he killed an innocent man who wasn't out there attacking people on a subway, who wasn't out there being arrested 42 times, who wasn't mentally ill or hopped up on drugs, but a man that people on the left in today's world see as absolute pure evil, a white man who's successful, the evilest.
This morning, the NYPD is alarmed by posters outside the New York Stock Exchange and social media posts suggesting Mangione is a martyr. In a confidential assessment obtained by ABC News, the NYPD says Mangione considered Thompson's murder a symbolic takedown of United Healthcare over perceived corruption, adding the suspect likely views himself as a hero of sorts who has finally decided to act upon such injustices.
He's not a hero, but his mission as far as a conversation in this country over healthcare, I got zero problems with having a conversation. We should have. The way you handled it was absolutely wrong. I think we can all agree on that. What really probably frustrates a lot of people is, look, if your wife died or your kid died, they denied service, you lost everything, could you see the anger build up in somebody? Yeah, God, I've seen movies like that. Didn't Denzel take over a hospital in a movie, right? Like, am I right, Mason? That was a movie, right? Over, like, his kid not getting insurance covered something, or I remember it.
I think it was that, and I think it was like an organ transfer.
Yeah,
needed or
something like that.
Yeah. Let me look at it.
Okay, you could see how somebody would maybe lose the plot. You got the surgery. You didn't go after the doctor. And allegedly got the surgery. I mean, again, that you posted something that seems to be what you were dealing with and how they would fix it. Right? There was that. Am I right?
Yeah. He took over the hospital for, because insurance wouldn't cover his son's heart transplant.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you watch the movie and he starts to be beloved by the crowd and the whole 9 yards. Because it's a great, look, the us versus them, phenomenal. People love that. Like, people love the underdog. And there's a great book out there, and it was a study done, actually, about the underdog. That we as humans automatically believe that the underdog is virtuous and has better morals. So the man is automatically bad, and the underdog is good. And this has been talked about, especially a lot over the last year since what took place in Israel, that we elevate the quote-unquote underdog to a level of almost like martyr God status, and that whoever is on the other side is deemed evil and bad. And when you find out that you go through everything, you realize none of that's true. But there's something about that, right? There's something inherently like, oh, that's the underdog. We all like the underdog. And this kid, by the way, wasn't an underdog. He wasn't a guy that had gone bankrupt, lost his family. He was stupid wealthy. And there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. And this guy, his family has radio stations. They've got resorts, like golf resorts, exclusive real estate. So it wasn't, so you just have to deal with his smoldering looks. Where Daniel Penny was the exact opposite. Because dude's just riding a train. That's it. Wants to go somewhere. And it got turned into something political, which it never should have been. And it became a black and white issue. And Daniel Penny's not rich. Daniel Penny, and look, and I say this about Jordan Neely, and I said it the other day. Daniel Penny may have been the straw, but the reality is the system killed that guy. The system killed that guy and then ignored him along the way, allowing him to be on the streets, allowing him to be out and about when he should never have been. Mental illness, drugs, all kinds of things, putting other people in harm's way. But automatically, again, because of who Daniel Penny is, he's a white man who's a Marine. He's got enough. He's got a house, right? He's got a roof over his head. So automatically, compared to the other guy, and this goes back to that intersectionality where everybody's trying to get over on one. Like, what are you? Well, I'm this. Well, I'm two of those. So automatically, I'm below you, which makes me better than you. It's nuts. It's nuts. This guy lost the plot, killed somebody. Now he's being hailed as a hero. Daniel Penny thought he was saving a bunch of people. And by the way, like I said, the system, if you go and look and read any of the transcripts of the whole thing, you know that they would not do CPR on him, the medical people that got there, because they were worried they were going to get AIDS. So they would only do CPR. So they wouldn't do any of the resuscitation. There was several people holding it, but they only charged Penny. And then automatically he got vaunted just status of evil white male. We've got to stop doing that. We do. But people are always looking for a reason to go, I'm an underdog. I'm a victim. This guy here's rich. He played the victim. You shot a dude in the back, bro. Like, that's not even, again, as I said earlier, in Western days, people would have been like, you suck. You don't do that. But the way that people are viewing him is he's a hero. Because even though he had all of the things, what he was fighting against was the ultimate thing. White male, rich, in an industry that everybody hates. Even you, I'm seeing on the text line, I get a bunch of you, who totally lean right, but I could tell you're like, I totally understand how bad the industry is and how frustrating it is. But what he started is, how can he be that underdog hero? Is he a martyr? And worse yet, is he a person that is going to inspire other idiots?
I don't give a that he shot that CEO. I hope he's got a list. I hope he's working down.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about that now because he's never getting out of jail again. They've got his fingerprints, his DNA. He's done for. But vaunted, right? Like they've got pictures of him all over. You can go online and buy bullets that are shell casings with the Defy and, all that stuff. You can go online and buy hoodies. You can buy of him, like, with the hoodie on and you're wearing it. It's crazy. You've got women that are fawning over him, which, again, is very bizarre. It's crazy. And at the same time, Daniel Penny's evil. And I'm always fascinated at the way that the media spends stuff because they spend the hell out of stuff.
Okay, so they've arrested our hot CEO assassin. Turns out his name's Luigi. He's 26 years old. He's an Ivy League grad. Did his undergrad and master's at Penn in computer science. He's a little young for me, but baby, what is you doing getting caught eating at McDonald's? And curse you, McDonald's employee, for turning him in. I never understood those crazy women that wrote inmates in jail, but I could see myself doing that.
And if you've seen the TikTok of her, she's a little easy on the eyes. So weird. Welcome to the world of weird. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Chris. Again, earlier today, we had not so tragic news of Dan Mandis feeling a little under the weather due to the fact that he's having too much throat coat, apparently. So he will be out again tomorrow. So if you're new, you're like, who's this guy with the weird mustache? I will be here tomorrow as well. And then starting the 2nd of January, I take over for Murph. Murph moves up to where Brian is. And the bottom two, if you will, starting out the day. The leadoff hitter. And second.
Hey, now.
No, but, the bottom, because we're climbing up.
I mean, yeah.
It's not like they're bottom. There's like, you're going first, second, third,
I'm right
fourth.
here,
You know what, Joan? Settle down there. Hey, what, the pastor, Joan, that got tossed out last night. So what did he do to get tossed out? Because I know he's been all over the country speaking. We've seen him, if you've seen him all over the internet.
Right.
Did he read another one of the books that I can't read on the air?
So here's what he does. He goes in there and he goes in during meetings that talk about how the boards are spending their finances.
Yeah.
And they have to give him time. So he goes in and he talks about finances, but he says, hey, why are you spending money on these books? Here's what these books do. Here's these gender queer books. For little kids. And that's when they throw him out. Well, what he did last night was he took the book, and there was a guy that had a T-shirt on. One of the board members had a T-shirt on that said, what was the phrase? Keep the books, get rid of the fascists.
Oh, God.
Something like that. And he said, here, I want to see that book. So the pastor took the book and gave it to him. And one of the other board members said, I feel threatened by him. So they closed the meeting down and threw him out. With a police escort.
Well, I'm starting, you get to the point where you're big enough and you start showing up at these things. People are going to recognize. Have you seen the guy that shows up? Is it in Dallas or wherever all the time? And he goes, I'm Chad Kroger. And then he'll play songs and do stuff. Because if you've never been to a local board meeting,
they're interesting.
They are hilarious. And there's always that one lady that shows up and she wants to talk about the easement.
Right.
Right? Like everybody else is talking about whether or not they're going to put, in fentanyl drug, Naxalon or whatever over here. And she's like, I want to talk about the easement.
Yeah.
So, but I know, like, he's at the point now where, because he's flying into places, that they're expecting it. But this is the way I look at the book thing.
Yep.
First of all, when somebody says they ban books, they don't. You can get those books, take them home with you all you want, right?
Yep,
like banning a book is you can't get them. Secondly, if I can't read it on the air because I'll get fired, a 9-year-old shouldn't read it.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
This is at, local school boards. That was Murfreesboro School Board.
Whatever happened to teaching?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Like, I wonder, whatever happened, like, you go in and then you learn some stuff and the kids aren't there for anything political, and then they move on and to the next grade, and nobody, it's like, whatever happened to that? Like, indoctrination? No, thank you. But at some point, why don't we just teach the stuff we should be teaching, and we don't need to indoctrinate? And if your kid wants to delve into the world of whatever, I don't want them to be ostracized at school, but that should be kind of a parent thing.
So are your kids young enough to be in school?
Yes, my kids are. Yes, because I started late. So I have a 14-year-old son. He's in San Diego with his mom. He plays hockey. So he's a hockey. That's all that matters. And he's getting ready to make that decision in life where is he going to now have to train full time because he's that kind of good. So I'm pretty stoked about that, or not. Because if you know anything about hockey, kids, it's expensive. I'm like, geez, if only you race cars. So, but then I've got a 16-year-old stepdaughter, I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter, and I have a 6-year-old daughter.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
You're busy.
Very busy, very busy. But I'm not doing the indoctrination thing. I'm sorry. And I've got friends who are super on the left, and they're like, they don't want any of that either for their kids. It's like they just want go to school, learn how to do math, read, write, all of those things, and then we'll move on from there. But somewhere along the line, through the teachers union in particular, we've got this bizarre activism that is not doing well for the schools. And if you go look at the numbers, public school enrollment, heading downward, kids, heading down. I am Chad Benson in for Chris, who will be back again tomorrow on Dan's show, and I'll be back for him tomorrow. But everybody else stays the same the rest of this week until Friday, when I'm in for Murph, who will then be in for Brian. There's a lot of moving parts. It is Super Talk 99.7.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Up ahead on the congressional hot seat today, Biden administration officials are being grilled over the Afghanistan withdrawal. That's coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That was not a great withdrawal, by the way. Not good at pulling out. I don't even think that.
This is a family show.
I just want to know. I was talking about the pull. You went there, Joan Jones. So you got to have regret, right? Like, that was the weirdest. If you go back and look at the way that Biden took a hit after that, and it was a precipitous drop in his poll numbers. It was incredible. And he never, ever regained any upward momentum. And the whole thing was, too, remember, he was supposed to be the guy that had all the empathy, right? Uncle Joe has got all the empathy. And it looked like when he was there, it was like, whatever, I'm here. It was so bad. And then when we did, because remember, he reacted. And they're like, okay, we think we know who did it. And then we go and do what? We bomb a guy, kill him and his family, or his family, while he's out getting milk. And he wasn't the guy. So what'd that cost us? Just this. I watch a lot of Mark Halperin. If you guys don't know, he has got a great podcast show that he does. And he was a big insider and still is in D.C., probably the most connected insider. And he got caught up early on in the Me Too movement, but he's since clawed his way back. And he's got a newsletter and everything. But he has on a bunch of people every day that are very connected. And one of the guys he brought on the other day that's on quite a bit, very much a lefty, Democratic strategist, said Joe Biden should be embarrassed and will probably never live down what's taken place in Israel and his foreign policy on how bad it's been. And for all the talk of Trump's evil, Trump's bad, it's funny when he goes places on the world stage how he's embraced. Because with Biden, they may like him personally, but on a professional level, he's all over the place. I'm not going to give you weapons, but you should come train on these weapons. Then I'll give them to you at a time when maybe it's not really that convenient and it's too late because something's already happened. I'm going to do this when I don't do. He's all over the place. He's unpredictable. Here's the thing with Trump. The unpredictableness you expect. I think, you do. You expect it. But you also know this is what he says he's going to do this. And he may do it in a week, and he may do it in a month, and he may do it in 5 minutes. He's going to do it. But the unpredictableness has very little to do with the actions. That's all the chaos that surrounds Trump. And there's plenty of that because I think he enjoys it. I do. But when you go and look at how bad Afghanistan went, just the entire thing. And it started a long time ago because I think if we're all honest, we should never have been in there that long. One thing America is great at, we're great at getting into stuff. We are awesome at that. We are horrible at getting out of it. We never really seem to have a plan worth a damn. We kind of go sideways. And then it just cost us billions of dollars to stay in those areas, which is very frustrating for all of us. And then what happens? Well, we open up Hornets Nest. I mean, we were in there for 20 years, spent how much money only to what? We got there, Taliban was in charge, we leave, Taliban's in charge. We went into Iraq. We should never have been in Iraq. Ever. That should never have happened. For as bad as Saddam was, you know what Saddam was good at? Keeping crazy in. People only got mad at Saddam when crazy got out, which was him when he decided to go in Kuwait. Outside of that, he kept crazy in. And now you've got the Hornet's Nest in what is going on with Assad being gone in Syria. That right there is going to be the potential for God knows what. Because now that everybody's in Damascus and you had these several different groups that were fighting together as they united to hate on Assad and get him out of there. Now what? Because everybody wants to be a chief. Nobody wants to be an Indian, right? There's a lot of chefs in that kitchen. And what does that look like? Because Turkey's got to be terrified. Israel's worried. That's why they've taken part. And let's not forget, there's tons of chemical weapons. And as we all know, the jihadis will do what they want when they get a hold of something. They're not about pretending that we won't do something. They'll use it if they want to. So, ugly indeed. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Chris. A lot of stuff still to get to. We'll talk a little bit about Trump and Pete Hegseth and all of this stuff because the interesting thing is a great article, a couple articles today about Milei in Argentina. Remember, he took over a year ago and how bad that was going to go. Well, lo and behold, it's a year later and well, maybe some things have changed and he's getting a little love. We'll talk about that, bunch of other stuff. Super Talk 99.7.
Good morning, 10:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. It has been 3 years since the deadly withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, and today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken and others are testifying before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He claims no one anticipated the Afghan government would collapse as quickly as it did.
I think today especially of the 13 heroes that we lost at Abbey Gate, and I deeply regret that we did not do more and could not do more to protect them.
Blinken was shouted down multiple times by protesters during the proceedings. A Hopkinsville woman is facing charges after allegedly overdosing while bathing her 1-year-old child in the sink. A friend who found 29-year-old Danielle Smith slumped over the sink said the baby was not responsive. Now, we don't know the condition of the baby today. A police search of her home turned up methamphetamines. The Labor Department is out with its November report on consumer prices. ABC's Jim Ryan says we're paying more than we were a year ago for nearly everything.
The Consumer Price Index takes into account all items across all categories. In November, the CPI rose 0.3% from its October level and 2.7% over the past 12 months. That's in line with analysts' expectations. Nearly 40% of last month's rise came in the housing category.
That news giving investors the hopes that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates over the next week. The Dow Jones Industrials right now up just 1 point, though. The NASDAQ is up 300 points. S&P 500 index is up by 48. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Calvin. I went to school with him.
Wait, really?
Born and raised in Long Beach, baby.
Dang, that's cool.
Yeah. He was actually called Snoopy. There was another guy named Snoop who was a little bit more gangsterish. That makes sense. I coached soccer at Long Beach Poly, where he went to high school.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I mean, he was beloved. There was, like Nate Dogg, all of them,
Yeah. Interesting. That's so cool.
Well,
yeah, it was like the closest I've ever had to any connection to that guy is my roommate does a lot of touring stuff.
Yeah.
And so he does audio and whatnot. And he went and did a tour called the 8 Days of Blaze.
Oh, I wonder what they're blazing.
I don't know. But
marijuana.
I have a little bit of a hint because he was given a lot from Mr. Dog himself.
That's how he pays people.
Yeah.
Did you see Taylor Swift gave out $197 million in bonuses to all of her touring people?
Yeah, I did see that.
That's pretty damn cool.
It's like, I kind of want to get into that industry.
That's good. Well, you got to be with Taylor, though.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the thing, though. Can she keep it up? Because you just came off this 2-year tour that was massive.
Yeah,
but
huge.
Michael Jackson had a moment, and it was huge. You're too young, but Thriller, everybody knows. I mean, that was the biggest selling album in the history of mankind.
So good.
And it was a moment in time that lasted for a couple years, 3 years, and he was still a megastar, but he never could get back that. The Beatles, they had their moment, but when I look at this, I'm thinking, okay, so what's the next? Because everybody's going to always ask, top it. I mean, you go look at Bad from Michael Jackson, and the reality is that album sold, it's like still a top 15 album of all time, but compared to Thriller, nobody cared.
Yeah.
So can you keep it up? Because you want that $197 million to hand out to people.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, can you keep it consistent every year kind of thing, or every couple of years or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to do it nonstop.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that she's done is she's gone from genre to genre of music and done it well.
Yes.
I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan.
I'm not.
Dan Mandis is. And he can attest that she's done the transition well enough that it's kept people's interest and they still stay engaged for so long. That's why she was able to do a 2-year tour and have fans sell out the entire arenas that she was in or football stadiums because
people flying all over the world to see her. I mean, it's
wild.
Like, well, she was an industry, like there was the industry that she was where, the Fed talks about the fact that she played a part in certain areas in bringing so much money in it that stabilized certain parts of those cities' economies.
That's wild to me.
I mean, it is nuts, just crazy to have that kind of power too. Which is pretty damn amazing.
And one of the big things that I think separates her from, as you brought up, Michael Jackson, is the fact that we're in a social media age.
Oh, yeah.
Where she could post one thing and it ripples through so quickly.
Where Michael's like, I'm having a sleepover. Wait, what? Oh, man.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. Speaking of not talking about it, here's the thing. This guy goes out and he kills the CO and he's a martyr. Then, of course, you've got to go do what? You got to go find the people to ask about... What was he like?
Since then, I've still been in a little state of disbelief that this kid that I knew from high school 8 years ago is now the most high-profile killer, allegedly, in the country. It's so surreal.
It's so surreal. I'm so surprised. Just once, you're like, oh, I totally knew he was going to do it. We were talking about that as a kids, man. We thought Jim's going to totally freak out one day, kill a bunch of people. It's always like, I'm so shocked. Well, and with this guy, maybe, Luigi... because he had everything going for him. I said he was rich. He's come from wealth. And somebody said his family's got it. Yeah, his family's got it, but he's part of the family. It wasn't like he was ostracized living in the streets. So he came with means, traveled. The guy had it all. So that's the different side of what happened. And, apparently his back was so bad he couldn't do anything and couldn't have sex anymore. And he couldn't, I said, well, he's going to have sex now in prison, whether he likes it or not. But the reality is I look at all these videos that he had posted, and I've seen several doctors going, look, if he's upset at the industry, okay. But if he's saying he can't do this, this, and this, that he was telling some of his friends and family, the way that he was even walking in yesterday, that would be virtually something you would be able to tell. And he said, no, none of that. Can't tell any of that. So it's, again, sad that we're talking about that. And many of you have chimed in about like how disgusted you are with America. Not just America. He has gotten the attention of the world over this. So it's not just America that has got this weird fascination, like I said earlier, what we do with death and evil. There is that bizarre fascination. But I digress. We move on. Weight loss, super important. Trying to get fit. Taking the shot? Are you? Is anybody taking the shot? People taking the shot? I know some people have. A lot of people have. This is interesting. So when it comes to the shot, because when it first came out, everybody goes and gets it. Then they find out there's some side effects. And when everybody's taking something, you can give the whole world aspirin. There's going to be people who have side effects of it. But these side effects were a little uncomfortable. So people have decided they're going to do their own thing by microdosing weight loss.
This morning, microdosing meds used for weight loss.
It just makes me feel better about myself psychologically, that I can say no and that I don't have to eat sweets or too much food.
Erica Liebman, a psychologist in Philadelphia, was worried about all the possible side effects taking Ozempic. So under the supervision of her doctor, she decided to try microdosing, or taking very small amounts of the medication.
What I have found is that I'm able to put my fork down when I want to, when it's a healthy time, instead of when I've already started to regret how much I've eaten.
We've all been there, eating ourselves out of. Well, the other day I ate so much, and I'm like, why am I eating at this point? It's just a condition, right? And that's a lot of what this stuff does. That's the one thing they said they have trouble explaining is what it does somewhere in the mind that tells you to disengage, you will, if you with your fork and plate. But some people didn't like the side effects, and some people had it bad. My uncle got on it, and he's lost a lot of weight, and he had zero side effects. He also didn't do it correctly because he went straight to the high dose. He didn't know what he was supposed to do. I'm like, who explained this to you? But I've talked to a couple friends who tried it, and they were sick for days. Like, they were losing weight because they couldn't eat. Like, and when they did eat, they got sick.
People on GLP-1 medications typically start by taking lower doses before gradually working up to higher doses over the course of several weeks. This is what is FDA approved and has been studied for safety and effectiveness in clinical trials.
Sometimes you start at a lower dose, you get the body kind of acclimated to the drug, and you minimize those side effects, and then you up titrate the dose over time.
For Michael Hammer of Los Angeles, after taking the recommended dose of Ozempic for 3 months, he was ready to give it up because he says his side effects were unbearable.
I would order food, and when the first bite came in, I would just immediately get overwhelmingly full and nauseous. And it would just make it, to the point that I was not consuming enough calories and really was worried about malnourishment.
And I had my friend's wife did that. And she was thrilled by the weight loss, but he'd be like, dude, she's not eating anything. Like, anything. And when she does eat it, she feels sick for forever. My uncle, I said, hey, so how's it working? And he's all, it's weird. He goes, he didn't have any side effects, but he said, it is bizarre because you can go have a salad, just a salad. And I'm like, I'm full. I mean, he goes, and they're double income, no kids. My uncle and his wife, they do very well. And by that, I mean, there's, he'll call me one day and he's like, dude, we last month we spent like $4,000 eating out. I'm like, oh my God. And he says, he goes, I don't eat out at all. And he goes, I feel weird because we can even just split a salad and a piece of bread and I'm full. But he's noticed though that there's times when he's like, I can't work out. I can't do some of the things because I'm not getting enough calories. And that's that weird thing. But I didn't realize it was this bad that people had to microdose it, because that's the big thing. Now, are people doing it because it's something good for them, or are they doing it because it's the cool thing to do is microdose?
That's when he says a medical professional who prescribed the medication to him through a telehealth company suggested he try microdosing instead. He's been doing it for 2 years now and says it changed his life.
It allowed me to lose the weight that would have taken me, I did it in 8 months instead of 2 years. But also, it allowed me to reset my lifestyle.
While Michael and Erica say microdosing is working for them, doctors say there's no science right now that shows microdosing these medications is effective. There isn't even a true dosage range for microdosing.
I don't recommend microdosing to my patients. There's just not enough research there, and it's much easier to titrate these medications along the FDA-approved indications and doses.
Yeah, but nobody trusts the FDA anymore, so there's your problem. And the other thing is, it's not going to do anything bad for you. Like, if somebody's going to take 10 milligrams, instead they take 2 milligrams, that's not going to kill them. It's like, well, you took 2, so you're done for. That was the right amount to have you explode. It's so bizarre because I love it. Like, well, I don't know. We haven't really done any kind of research, or I think some of it's psychological. They just want to, you could probably put water in it in some of these people, saline, and they'd be fine. They thinking it's working at that point. But microdosing, the new thing to stop PTSD, and microdosing, the new thing to stop your hunger. Somebody said that they've been taking Manjaro for a year. They've lost 100 pounds. I've seen some amazing weight loss over this. You always knew that the greatest money haul in history was going to be the person who could come up with the pill or something that would help you lose weight. If you could put it in a donut, you win. That's it. If you could put it in a donut. But this, you can't keep this stuff on shelves, and there are a lot of people out there trying to get it in such a way that they're willing to risk a lot of stuff. Or work out. Eat a little less and work out is also good too. What's going to happen in 6 months or a year or 2 years, though, when everybody kind of weans themselves off this? What does that look like? Do people get, like some people, I think you get a start, you go, you're fine. That's what you needed. You need that kickstart. What happens, though, for a lot of people who do the yo-yo thing with all the other diets they've done, and now they don't have this? What does that look like? And how, like, long-term, what does this stuff look like? Just like with the steroids and all the medicine we put in ourselves, what do any of these things look like long-term? And I'm talking over years rather than 6 months or something. We'll find out. My name's Chad Benson. I am in for Chris. So if you guys didn't hear, earlier today, Dan didn't come in because he didn't feel good. He had throat coat issues, apparently. So he stayed home. So they called Chris and said, Chris, can you come in? Chris said, yeah. So they said, Chad, can you come in? I said, yeah. So, but starting on the 2nd of January in the year Lord 2025, I will be on from noon till 3 because Murph is going to move from 3 till 7 as Brian heads into his retirement time and everybody else says the same. But tomorrow, it looks like Chris and I will both be in the same position because once again, Dan not feeling well. He's on that extended relaxation at rehab for throat coat is what I'm hearing. So be prepared for another day with me. I know. Sorry to disappoint you guys. It is Chad Benson in for Chris right here at Super Talk 99.7.
I do everything from
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
All right, drivers got a disabled vehicle. It's going to be 40 eastbound at Fessler's Lane. It looks like the ramp and left lane are blocked there. And we've got more on those fingerprints found at the scene of Brian Thompson's murder there in New York, coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Nice. A little bit of music right there for you. You want to hear something cool? Want to hear some cool music? All right, here we go, kids. If you guys like Christmas, see if you can guess who this is.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose.
That's Scott Stapp.
It's AI.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. I want to say I'm surprised now, but I can't be.
No. This is so great. It's amazing. And it does sound like Creed.
I love Creed so much.
It's America's Nickelback. Am I wrong?
I mean, you're right.
Man,
You're 100% right.
Why did Nickelback... Why did everybody turn on Nickelback? I mean, I never was a huge Nickelback fan.
You know, settle down. We know you.
Wait, hold on.
But I mean...
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. There's only about 30 seconds left.
To a place where snowmen see.
This one gets better.
Can you take me higher? To a place where sleigh bells ring.
That's good.
Oh.
That's a good.
So Nickelback, you know what? They played into the fact that they were that bubblegum rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were fine with that. You know, they're like, yeah, it pays the bills. And they're okay with being, you know, this disdain. But if you go see them, they rock hard. They play hard.
They're so good. I want to see them live.
And it's funny because I saw Dave Grohl laughing one day. He's like, those guys rock as hard as we do.
Yeah.
And but you know what the problem is? You're in Canada. You're not Rush.
Yeah.
Right? You're not Rush. And if you're not Rush, you might as well be Nickelback.
Yeah.
Oh.
So no Tom Sawyer here. It's just, you know, I mean, and then we got our version, which was Scott Stapp. And I think they're touring right now.
Is Creed touring
Yeah,
right
I think
now?
so. I think so.
I didn't even know they were still together.
Yeah, I think they got back together. You know how everybody, they all
Always
go
jump
away
back.
and then they realize, oh my God, we are
We need money.
we are not very good at this other stuff. I don't want a regular job, Scott. Come back. Get your life together, Scott.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't do this 9 to 5.
That's right. This is horrible. Look, we can go on tour with Maroon 5. This is our chance. There's a fairground waiting for us.
Maroon 5.
We could split $8,300. Oh my God! Yeah, it's not very nice. Who's the other? Maroon 5? What was that other? Not even Maroon 5. The train. The song they sing about the train. Is it train? Is it Train? Right?
It might be
Train is a band, yeah.
Oh God, that's a perfect man. That right there. That is every middle-aged woman's dream. Train and Nickelback live in concert at a fair near you.
Oh.
Get ready for that, kids. I am not Train. I am not Nickelback, nor am I Creed, but I would like to be. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Chris. I'll be back again tomorrow for Dan. And then I will be back here. And then again, it's, you know how it goes. It's all the same. But starting on the 5th or the 2nd, it's going to be me. So be prepared from noon till 3. And then, of course, Dan and Chris will still be here. And then the Murph moves from 3 till 7 right here. Super Talk 99.7.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Once again, folks, got the 40 eastbound off-ramp to Fessler's Lane blocked by a crash. That's a car versus tractor trailer there, so that's going to get in your way. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. We are hearing more reports that fingerprints collected at the scene of the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson matched those of the suspect, Luigi Mangione. CNN reporting it first. USA Today's picking up on it now. Mangioni's lawyers have said they question whether police arrested the right man. They're fighting extradition to New York based on a questionable ID.
About those alleged writings, sources say NYPD investigators have from Luigi Mangione attacking the U.S. health insurance industry and calling corporations parasites.
There's a rule of completeness, so you have to take any writing or any document in its entirety because some things can be taken out of context.
Mangione's attorney Thomas Dickey on the gun police say they found on his client.
A lot of guns look the same.
And?
I don't even know if that evidence would be admissible.
He says he expects police ballistics to match the gun to the shooting.
Well, now we have these fingerprints. A Hopkinsville woman facing charges after allegedly overdosing while bathing her 1-year-old child in the sink. A friend who found the 29-year-old Danielle Smith slumped over the sink, the baby not responsive. We do not know the condition of the baby today. A police search of the home turned up meth. Alex Jones will get to hold on to his InfoWars website, at least for now. Jim Ryan says a federal judge has rejected a bid from a competing website.
The owners of The Onion had planned to turn InfoWars into another satirical publication, one focused on conspiracy theories. But a bankruptcy judge has found that the auction process for InfoWars was flawed. Jones had been ordered to give up his InfoWars empire with proceeds from the auction going to families of the Sandy Hook massacre. They successfully sued Jones after he alleged that the mass shooting that killed 26 people was staged. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Matt Gaetz has a new job. The former Florida congressman will join One American News Network as an anchor. Next month, he'll have a 1-hour show, 9 o'clock weeknights. It comes after Gaetz announced he won't rejoin Congress after withdrawing from consideration for Attorney General. And a first-of-its-kind event today at the White House focused on women's health.
President Biden and the First Lady today host the first-ever White House Conference on Women's Health Research, an event that brings together business and philanthropic leaders, women's health advocates, and federal representatives to highlight the work the administration's done to advance women's health research and discuss ways to continue progress. The White House says since its launch in November 2023, the Biden's initiative on women's health has galvanized nearly $1 billion in funding to close gaps in research on women's health, from menopause to brain disorders to cardiovascular disease.
That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
So, Alex Jones, still there. I get up extra early in the morning, so some of you guys starting to get familiar with me. I have another show I do, and I'm up extra early. And kind of like Mandis, I get up super early. I'm super prepared, and sometimes I'm on Twitter, and it's got all the, like, what shows are live. It's like 3 in the morning, 2:30 this morning. It's like 800,000 people watching who's ever on InfoWars. Whatever person is talking about gay frogs. Nobody does. I can't believe this is happening. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Turn of the frogs gay. Trans frogs. You guys, you want a surreal story? So 2016, the convention. So Trump, it's all that. So Cleveland, we're there. And it is so crazy when you're there. There's all the political people there. Everybody's filming themselves, doing the whole 9 yards. You can't go anywhere, though, without Alex Jones' face on a bus, planes flying overhead, InfoWars, all that stuff. He's got like 8 minions with him, all walking around with different things. So in front of my booth, just off to the left, he gets into a screaming argument like they're going to go to blows with Triumph the insult dog. Now, there is a man operating the puppet, and they're going at it. I'm like, how did I get it? And I got Milo sitting there with me. We're both going, what the hell's going on here? It was so surreal. It was the most bizarre situation. I thought, where am I? And who would have thought that all those years later, it would only get weirder? So, and I know, look, the whole thing with his trying to take InfoWars, and I'm a absolute free speech absolutist, right? The only speech that has to be protected is hate speech. Because if everybody liked everybody's speech, then it would need to be protected. And when they kicked him off Twitter and did all that stuff, because look, so much of it is a show. I hate to, if people love Alex, that's great. So much of it's a show. And some of it's been very real. But, a lot of it's theatrical, as you know. It was wrong, but it set a precedent, right, for people, for opportunities to do this. And I was speaking to a guy the other day who just did a documentary, a great documentary about the Babylon Bee and the hill that they died on when it came to Rachel Levine, right, like the health secretary, and said that she was the man of the year because she's a he and whatnot, trans, and they refused to get rid of it, and then, boom, they were crushed by Twitter. And that was one of the things that pushed Elon into buying Twitter, was he'd kind of had enough of it, and that was it. And they refused to take it down. So they were losing money on a daily basis. Their livelihood was disappearing, the Babylon Bee. And I love the Babylon Bee. It's hilarious. But you got to have a place for people to have discord. And if we cannot have conversations, if we can't debate, and in some cases argue with one another, you can't live your life. You're never going to move forward as a society if we cannot have these honest conversations, and sometimes crazy. And yes, are there people out there who spread disinformation all day? Yeah. And are there people out there, and I don't know and how people do this, there are people out there who live in the day-to-day world of conspiracies. There are people out there who live in the absolute world of everything is being controlled by a puppet master. Everybody's having strings pulled. Everybody is, and having some doubt about especially government. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But you can't live your life all day like that. Because I'm sure some of you have met somebody that everything is a conspiracy, and the minute you debunk it, they tell you why you're part of the problem, or that that's a lie, or they're on to the next one. And that's a tough way to live your life. And yeah, for Alex, a lot of it was show. But never deserved to go away. He didn't. But people think it was a free speech thing. A lot of it wasn't. A lot of this, he had people out there that also don't understand that some of these things, they're a game, right? It's kabuki theater. People are saying stuff and they're getting angry and he thinks they're all dealing with it, and then they're calling and threatening these people, showing up at their houses. That was a bad thing. He didn't deserve $1.5 billion or whatever that settlement. I mean, the lawsuit ended up costing him. But I think what's going to happen is I think Elon's going to buy the Onion. I mean, I think Elon's going to buy InfoWars. because he was paying for the money, I think, for the lawyers. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. It's a possibility. There's no doubt about that. Meanwhile, I think we all know they've got the shooter. I think we can safely say that. The other day, I said it, and somebody said, you should say allegedly. I'm like, look, if he's not the shooter and he wants to sue me, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm going to go out on the limb and I think they got their guy. You know how much I know that? Because I don't think they're looking for anybody else. Oh, yeah, maybe. So if I'm correct, Ken, did they say have they done ballistics yet on the shooter or not? Or they've got fingerprints of the shooter. Do they have DNA? Is Ken in there? What's he doing? Hey, Ken, pick up here. There you go. Do they have DNA prints? What do they have on the shooter?
Yeah, right now reports are saying that fingerprints at the scene match Mangioni's.
Okay. So that goes against everything but they haven't done ballistics on the gun.
Not that I have seen yet.
Okay.
Not that I've seen. So, but yeah, they're going down the list.
Well, once you get the fingerprints and the DNA, you're pretty.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even if it was a different gun, it's going to be hard not to at this point in time. So let me get this right. This is you following him, but that's not you with the gun.
Right.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I wonder if he pleads it out. Somebody asked earlier, how long do you think this is going to go? I'm like, I think he wants it to go all the way. I think he wants it to go because I think at this point in time, you're never getting out of jail and you will go and ride this thing for as long as possible and you want the publicity and you're not going to get that pleading it out.
Yeah. And what is this? So let's say, we have the fingerprints here. We get that confirmed, the ballistics on the gun, Chad. Does that throw out extradition then? I mean, can he still fight extradition?
He'll fight it, but he doesn't. At this point in time, there's no more legs to stand on.
Right.
His chances are his attorney's going to be like, look, you should probably forget fighting the extradition, go there and deal with it. And I think that's what he's going to have to do. And again, it goes back to this situation where you were caught with all this stuff. You're not a plant, right? You're not a plant.
Yeah.
You none of those things are like I've heard he's a plant, he's all this stuff, and even his lawyer came out last night and said, look, he didn't have all this money on him, he didn't have 20, he's got all these. They want to make him out like he's John Wick, right, or something like this.
Right,
that was never that. He's got to go though. If you're really going to go full hog on the martyrdom, which I think he is, I think you've got to waive the extradition, get to New York, and then ride it out. Try to find a sympathetic jury, or maybe, but you're never going to plead it out because your goal is you wanted to start a conversation. You've done that.
Yeah.
So, but you've got to put yourself out there because you're never getting out of jail.
No.
And I don't think the death penalty there. So he's probably going to get life, although it is New York, so they may release him in an hour. But it is, you've got to now go full martyrdom, which is fall on the sword, get on the stand, talk about all the stuff, become a pain in everybody's butt, be loud, give interviews from jail, do all of that stuff. Because, and you're an attorney, you've got to expect that that's what you're going to do because that's what he wants to do, which was expose them for all of the stuff. Now, they're not on trial. He is. So he's not going to be able to bring out let's bring out all these insurance books and look at all these things he's done. And they're not going to be able to do that. But so that's why he's just going to go, you watch. I bet you within 6 weeks, we can all get an interview with him because they'll want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And stay relevant. That's the other side of it. Stu, you know this as much as I. When do we move on from him?
Wow.
Like, that's how fast stuff moves. When do we move on from him? At what day is it like, something else has already happened. Something else.
That's true.
Which is scary. Which is absolutely.
Today's news cycle.
It
changes every hour, man.
Every single hour. Speaking of changing every single hour, Pete Hegseth. I said it right. I keep screwing up his name. One day, by the time I get it right, he's going to be gone. I think he's got a really good shot. Rick Scott talking about it earlier.
First off, we're going to get Trump's nominees confirmed, right? And if we have to do recess appointments, I think we'll figure out how to do that. But I think look at his nominees. I mean, Marco Rubio, Pam Bondi, from Florida. Mike Waltz, who doesn't have to be confirmed, is going to be National Security Advisor. Susie Wiles from Florida, who's the Chief of Staff. Wonderful people. You look at Pete Hegseth. Here's a guy that's a combat veteran. He knows the risk of sending troops into battle. He's led troops in battle.
Here's something interesting, and we'll dive into it in a little bit, but watching people freak out, CNN just had a poll. 75% want people who are dominated by Trump to prioritize rather over loyalty. You guys talk about loyalty as if they're in the mob, right? Like they're mobbed up. They got to go in there and, it's our thing and they've got to prick there's none of that stuff. Are you and I on the same page? Are we going in the same direction? I believe these are the things we need to prioritize. I think we've got this going on here that needs to be sorted out. And can you be the person that is we're all rowing in the same direction? And I think that it's so funny the way the media spends it. But I remember a year ago, Javier Milei in Argentina, watching the media freak out about him was hilarious. And if you know nothing about the guy, and we're going to get into it a little bit, he's Donald Trump from Argentina in a much more crazy, he's unmatched energy. He's all over the place. And he loves Donald Trump. Donald Trump loves him. But the media did the same thing to him. But when I listen to them talk about, like, Pete, all right, Pete's got some issues. And I'll say this, like Matt Gaetz had issues. And we talked about it earlier today. When Chris and I, even Chris is like, who's going to watch that show on OAN? I had nobody. But still, we were talking about it earlier today over the fact that at some point in time, as stuff starts to leak out, you ask yourself, how many of you have Venmo'd 10 grand to some teenage girls? Probably not a lot of you. Like, there was enough in there that it was uncomfortable. Pete had some issues, and there's no doubt he's got to deal with them, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But can he do the job? Are they going after Tulsi? Can she do the job? It used to be confirmation hearings weren't so much about what a horrible human being you were. It was about, do you have the necessary capability in your brain to handle the things in front of you? And it's totally different now. It's about destroying people. And one of the things that they were talking about is let's give them a hearing and no more anonymous. If you've got stuff to say about Pete, you better bring it. Because if we're just going to go on anonymous for everything because nobody wants to be in that position, well, then we can derail every nominee on all sides. Doesn't matter who it is. You could have got Billy Graham up there and somebody could have said anonymously this happened and it could derail. If that's where we're going to go, no, you have a right to face your accuser and do it. But this is all about feelings and none of it's about fact and reality. And talk about that. Bunch of other stuff still to get to. And yes, Mr. Murphy will be here in a little bit as well. My name is Chad Benson. Tomorrow, same schedule. I'll be in for Chris. Chris is going to be in for Dan. Murph will still be the same. And, of course, Brian will still be the same. And then Friday, I'll be in for Murph. Mr. Matthew Murphy, he'll be here in a little bit. How'd the toy thing go yesterday? I didn't see what ended up. Did they fill up the whole thing?
I'm not entirely sure. That's a good Murphy question because he was there for a good chunk of the day
he was.
for a lot of that
very
stuff.
Good on camera, very charismatic. His hair's long.
Yeah, I saw all the social media posts, and he
and Belle almost look twins. I mean, they're twinning for sure, no doubt about that. So, but
here's the thing, though: do we let Matt keep growing his hair to match Belle, or do we trim Belle's hair? What are we doing?
It's a good question. Well, it's like Samson is the lie, right?
One of Belle's cats will trim his hair for us.
He's got cats. He's a cat person, right? That's who J.D. Vance warned me about. Something like Belle. I'm telling you guys that right now. I'm Chad Benson. In for Chris. This is Super Talk 99.7.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Fingerprints taken from Luigi Mangione. Match those at the scene of the murder of Brian Thompson. We'll tell you more about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I genuinely think the world went downhill when McDonald's took away the $2 sausage McGriddle off the all-day menu. Genuinely. People used to be happier. Now what? It's like $4? You used to be able to go to McDonald's at 5:47 p.m. and get a nice little sausage McGriddle for dinner for $2. Now what? It stops at 10:30?
Isn't it great that we live in a country where we're so upset? But like, dude, the sausage McGriddle, we can't even get,
Hey, we can't be mad at McDonald's for right now because in 2025, they're bringing back the snack wrap.
I heard, now, what's that going to cost? Like $12?
I mean, probably, but hey, it's coming back. Don't focus on the price. Focus on the food.
The snack wrap, is that the one in the tortilla?
Yeah. It's
where they give you like one big, like you got a chicken, it's just one big chicken.
One massive tender with like lettuce, ranch, cheese.
I love that thing.
Yeah, they were good.
Man, that sounds good.
They used to be affordable. I'm just wondering what price they're about to slam on that thing and be like, it's back. You guys wanted it. Now we'll charge you an arm and a leg for it.
Wouldn't it be nice if they put it in their $5 meal?
Oh, man, that'd be great.
This will be very, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was announced like a week and a half ago. So I think it was suspiciously right after the assassination that just happened.
Mason, you got to start telling me about this breaking news.
Listen, man, I'm not the news guy.
You know what's interesting, though? Like, think about how great our country is. Think about how amazing it is. We have a country that's so amazing that the people who run our fast food will hold a big press conference to talk about the fact that a beloved snack wrap is coming back.
Yeah.
People are like, dude, this is the best day of my life.
Yes. And like you said, And the media will show up.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody will be there.
It's so, like, it just shows you us compared to so many other places, which isn't always good. I mean, we're talking about, weight loss drugs earlier and stuff, and let's be real, we could all lose a few lbs. But when you think about how blessed we are, how much food we throw away, how much food we have, I mean, our kids have no idea my kids, I think most kids don't really have an idea because they live in a world of technology. Mm-hmm. Everything's at their fingertips, immediate. And earlier we were talking to Chris and them on the crossover. I was telling them that every time my kids whine about something, I have a little video of a guy. I don't know his name. His name is Stumpy. That's what I call. I don't know his name. He's a kid in Africa who's breaking rocks in the hot sun, because there is no cold sun over there.
No.
With a sledgehammer. All he has on is like jeans that are too big, shoes that are too big, but he has no arms. So it's all between his neck and his head that he throws this thing. And whenever my kids whine, I say, this kid probably has a smile on his face because he's saying to himself, at least I got legs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
At least I got legs. And, it's just, we are so blessed. And we're like, oh, God, a snack wrap is coming back. Oh, geez, the greatest day of my life. Those things are pretty good, though. Just want to tell you guys that.
I found the announcement if you want to hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's hear it real quick.
I do.
It's real quick.
He's on Good Morning America talking to George Stephanopoulos.
That was Stephanopoulos.
Yeah.
I'm going to interview, somebody next that's big. But first, let's go to the guy who runs McDonald's and talk about the snack wrap coming back. I got a big secret. I was waiting for a giant, awesome secret. It's a snack wrap coming back, for the love of God.
Well, they got to make a recovery after those onions.
Well, and then, the ones, that's why I used to, look, the onions, I love them, but sometimes you just got to know, like meat, it's hard to do bad things with meat. Bread, same kind of thing. It's always fruits and vegetables, kids.
They're the problem.
Right? Like, even go look at the Garden of Eden. Like, if it was men, like, Eve would have been like, would you like to take a bite of an apple? He's like, that's disgusting. Call me when you got a burger.
You got a burrito over there?
Yeah. But they're, what are they, Yelp bombing that McDonald's that turned the guy in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're Yelp bombing him. So, which is just, first of all, don't go to Yelp. It's stupid. Secondly, the fact that people are trying to destroy it through bad word of mouth because a patron and somebody making $10 an hour, which I'm sure was like, that was his dream.
Yeah.
Saw something and said something. You guys are idiots.
Because they did the right thing?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You know what? You guys each get a snack wrap because it's easier to get a snack wrap than it is to get the money. You know how hard it is to get the money?
Too hard.
Oh, I'll tell you guys about that. We're going to talk a lot of stuff. I want to talk about Malay as well. Matt will be in here in a little bit. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Chris. This is Super Talk 99.7.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Fingerprints taken from Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, appear to match fingerprints recovered from items found near the shooting scene. The prints recovered from a water bottle and a cell phone were smudged, but multiple media reporting sources say they appear to match the prints sent from Altoona, Pennsylvania, where Mangione is in custody. Meantime, Andrew Dembert says there's a trend of sympathy for Mangione.
Google has now removed a flood of negative reviews posted for a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, after an employee there tipped off police about Mangione's location. People are also now selling mugs and shirts that say "Deny, Defend, and Depose." The words police say were found on bullets at the crime scene, matching the title of a book on why insurance companies don't pay claims. Some sites quick to remove the merchandise sympathetic to Mangione, concerned about glorifying violence.
Also, a bulletin from the NYPD warns of new threats to executives, including an online hit list showing the names and salaries of the top 8 executives. A Wisconsin husband and father of 3 who faked his own death is now in custody in the U.S. Authorities tracking 45-year-old Ryan Borgart to Eastern Europe after he fled the country in August. Green Lake County Sheriff Mark Podol says Borgart returned willingly this week.
On December 10th, Ryan arrived on U.S. soil. He was then booked into the correctional facility and is awaiting his initial court appearance.
Podol says his office has recommended a number of charges, including obstruction. Borgart could also face federal charges. He'll also be charged at least $40,000 for the search of the Wisconsin lake where he was kayaking before he vanished. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
So they charged him with second-degree murder, which is 15 to life. But it's really weird that he didn't get first degree because some of the stuff in there, like it's if you kill a government official, things of that nature, cop, that gets you first degree. But one of them is terrorism and a contract hitting or lying in wait. That pretty much felt like lying in wait. It's just what I thought. I mean, you go there and you scout the place out. Doesn't mean they can't change it. But 15 years, he's got to do at least 15. I mean, he'd be 41 when he got out. Probably still a hunk. So weird. So bizarre. So Trump trying to get his people through, and CNN's got this like, well, guys, it's people don't want somebody who's loyal. That is the dumbest thing. Again, stupidest thing. But I go back a year, and Javier Milei, you guys don't know who he is. He is the guy, the president of Argentina. Crazy dude. He's the guy that was going to take a chainsaw to everything, walked around with a chainsaw, which is kind of scary, but whatever. And, it was like he was a TV show host. He's a super crazy, loves sex, and he's got his girlfriend. He's got a girlfriend. He's this bigger than life character, but he's an economist, very libertarian. He said, I'm gonna knock everything out. And everybody's like, you can't do that. Remember, he was going through the board? And he was like, Department of Transportation, gone. Department of this, gone. Department of that, gone. A year later. And remember, this is Argentina. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but in the South American countries at times can turn on, the minute you're voted in, they already want you voted out, like thing. And this is a country that hyperinflation almost became super hyperinflation. Their inflation. Like you would walk in a store, people talk about it. You'd walk in a store and you might be there for an hour. And from the time you got in to the time you got out, some of the prices were already changed. It was that bad. Well, he got inflation under control. The austerity measures worked. Unemployment's up. Poverty's a little bit up. But people see light at the end of the tunnel. And you know what he did? He surrounded himself with people that were like-minded going in the same place he was going. Because that's what he wanted and needed. I look at this like whether it's, I don't know who's going to get through, right? I have no idea. Does Tulsi get through? Maybe. Does Pete get through? Maybe. Does Kash Patel get through? Maybe. Or are some of them not going to get through? It's possible. But the thought process of surrounding yourself with people who aren't like-minded and who are sold for government more than they are a vision is ridiculous. By the way, Javier Milei's popularity in Argentina is up, even though unemployment's ticked up a little bit, because he's got inflation at a place that they haven't seen it for years. And on top of that, they have a surplus. Their bond rating has gone up because he had to think outside of the box to get rid of the corruption and chaos that had absolutely taken over that government and country. Where you were seeing, like we talk about inflation, we got like, like the snack wrap might be $4 instead of, $3.25. Their T-shirts are $100. They've got the peso to a point now where it's not on par, but it's way better than it used to be. And you had to take drastic measures. Now, it could all go to hell, but who did he put in charge? People he knew he could trust with the vision that he had, which is what you need. Because you don't want somebody undermining you. You don't. And do I think that, look, so much of what you hear, like with Kash Patel, like they were playing all that stuff last week with Kash Patel. Oh, look at all the stuff he says. And oh my God, he's going to go in and do this, and he says he's going to do these things. First of all, people talk a lot. Let's get that all out there. He was selling a book. Secondly, he's run some stuff. He's been inside the administration. He's been in around politics. He's a smart guy. So I'm not really worried too much about him. Pete, we'll find out. We'll find out what it looks like with him because he's going to have to face some scrutiny there. But so much of the scrutiny has very little to do with whether or not he can move the department, in the agency in the way that it needs to be moved away from this woke DEI crap and onto, creating fighting men. And I said men because he doesn't believe women should be in combat. And watching Morning Joe like, oh, darn it. They should totally be there. No. It's the way he looks at it. Military's like, it's there to break and kill things and protect stuff. It's not there for this stuff. But that's kind of the argument. Well, he's going to run into the ground. He's going to do this. How would you know? We're not giving him a chance. Nobody has. Government's concern is for government. They want to make sure government's okay. Is government healthy? Is government good? Are we all doing good? There's no responsibility. There's no accountability. And it's time for a change. And as far as Tulsi Gabbard goes, I don't know. We'll find out what that looks like as well. I don't think for an instant she's a Russian stooge. She's been planted here. That stuff is so ridiculous. Who told me that? Oh, Hillary Clinton. That is. What was the one that yesterday somebody hit me? 100 intelligence officers said that she's bad. I'm like, really? Are these the same 100 people that signed up that said that was disinformation with Hunter Biden's laptop? Am I supposed to believe them when they knew it wasn't for the most part? And the other ones didn't even look at it. They're just like, anything against Trump. How am I supposed to believe you? Because remember, you're protecting your own. So if you worked at Tire Shop A and Tire Shop B and, you wanted to protect your own and they were coming for Tire Shop, you would do everything if you thought your job was on the line. And you see that right now in the entertainment industry. We played that awesome song by Fake Creed earlier, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Here's the thing. People in Hollywood are freaking out. People in the music industry are freaking out. Oh, why? Because your job. So you can do everything. Well, it's not as good. It can't do this. It can't do that because you're protecting your job. That's what government's become. It's not about moving forward. It's not about what the possibilities might be. Could things be better? Could things be easier? Could they be more profitable? No, it's about protecting your position. So when I look at Javier Milei and how everybody came after him and talked about his unconventional style and the things he was going to do and how this was going to be awful and this they were going to go into hell and it was never going to. No, tighten belt. Even people that are struggling see light at the end of the tunnel, which they haven't had that kind of hope in a long time. Thought out there. Ken, are you there?
I'm here, Brother Chad.
I want to go over this again. The guy came back from Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
And they arrested him. So if you guys don't know the story, apparently he met himself a little Uzbeki hottie.
Yeah.
He pretended that his little kayak flipped over. They looked for him forever. And he had skipped over into Canada and then flew to Uzbekistan. Then he came back, and now he's in. I knew he was going to be in some trouble, but they're talking about serious charges.
Oh, yes.
Why would you come back? Oh, he must have had a fight with the Uzbeki lady.
Yeah, weird how that didn't work out.
God,
I knew a guy who he got wrapped up in one of those things.
Really?
And it was terrible. It's terrible what happened to him.
What, like a Russian or somebody?
Yeah. He had a Russian bride, if you will.
So I had a buddy, and this is my buddy had a Russian bride. Let me see if this. I'll throw this at you.
Okay.
He had two of them, but the first one, she was gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
You're marrying her sister, her mother, and they're taking all your money.
Yeah.
And the second one was with him forever and a day, still together. But he said, find somebody who's either a widow and has no family, and you're good to go. Is that what happened to him, though?
Similar. She apparently ended up taking off with an Austrian diplomat.
Oh, as you do.
Yeah.
As you do. That's sometimes that happens, man. Those Austrians.
She needed the paperwork. She needed something that he provided. She got it, and she was gone.
It's a bummer. That guy, though, I remember the story. And the whole thing about that too. I thought, if you're the kids, how do you feel? Like, dad bounced on mom. Maybe they had troubles. I don't know. But you left us.
Right.
Which you left us. Like, what? And then he sent back a video. Remember that? He was like, I'm still alive. Everything's okay.
Right.
And then he came home to face the music, man.
Like everything was going to be all right.
Yeah, apparently. Well, it's a shame because normally when relationships start out like that, they seem pretty strong. He must have run out of money.
That's probably what happened.
His girlfriend or whatever is like, you going to get a job? You get the job? Like, I thought you were my job. I left everything at home.
Yeah.
She wants to come to Wisconsin. She didn't want you to come to Uzbekistan.
Right.
She wanted you to come pick her up and take her back.
Yeah.
Now you're facing a long time.
I mean, man, this guy, I say he was a friend. He was a friend. He was a very likable guy. He was a coworker. But I just thought there is something wrong about this. And sure enough, there was.
Yeah, well, probably because you're looking at your friend and your friend's like, okay, maybe he's a C at best.
Yeah.
And she's a triple A.
Oh, yeah.
It's like she's a runway model.
Right.
And, she wants to carry a dog around in a purse and spend all your money. He's going to have to get a second job for his third job kind of thing. That's the kind of chaos, yeah.
I think she mistook a two-bedroom apartment for a two-story mansion.
Yeah, no. That's not very good. My name's Chad Benson. I am in for Chris. Again, tomorrow, Chris in for Dan. I'm in for Chris. And then on Friday, I'm in for Matt. He'll be in for Brian. It's the way it works. And starting the 2nd of January, you got me from noon to 3. This is Chad Benson right here on Super Talk 99.7.
Insurance industry. I'm not defending.
We're having a serious conversation here, guys.
They don't give them an out.
Yeah?
I have to take you.
Look at that. That's Matt Murphy on the radio. We're on the radio, man.
Oh, hey. Sorry.
So we're having a very serious conversation.
I was.
It is. Very serious conversation. You can talk healthcare today. Hey, how did it go yesterday? I saw
Hey,
you out there.
Chad. I didn't know I was on the radio.
That's
Feel
okay.
very exposed.
No, it's all good.
I think Mom popped
That's
into the
when
room.
the best things happen.
Mom popped into the room. I had to hide the magazine.
We get to see who you really are. How did it go yesterday? Did you guys get all the toys? You fill up the field?
We were very excited. I think some folks were a little confused because of the construction of the new stadium, because that's where we normally were. But hopefully we avoided most of that confusion. And Santa Claus was out there. I got a chance to steal a bike again, which was awesome.
Fantastic.
That's the second annual stealing of the bike.
Grown men on bikes. It's always a solid life choice. You never. Every time I'm with my son, and we'll see a guy like a 32-year-old with a backpack riding BMX bikes, and I go, life choices.
You know, bicyclists think they're better than you.
Well, the people that are on those $3,000 10 speeds,
Right.
they think they're better.
They think they're better than you.
Right, but the guy is riding a BMX bike and he's not at the X Games and he's 37 and he's got everything he owns in a backpack. Life choices.
One of my favorite radio moments in my 25-year career happened in Birmingham, Alabama. There was a guy north of Birmingham in Huntsville that filmed himself driving to work. And there are these bicyclists on his route to work every day, and he gets very frustrated with them every day, and he decided to film it and express his frustration. And all he did was he said, he was angry at them. He said, I ought to put him in a ditch. I ought to put him in a ditch. He was very angry. He almost got fired.
Really?
For posting a video expressing anger at bicyclists.
If he'd have killed a CEO, they would have loved him.
Well, that's
as long as it's the right CEO. You got to kill the right CEO.
That's right. Let's not kill a CEO of a company that we like.
Yeah.
Just companies that as a group, we decide to hate.
Oh, and you got to make sure he's white. Would we be looking at this guy different if it was a gay black man that was the president and CEO of United Healthcare?
No, because he's Hitler. I mean, so here's my question. Let's say we all hate health insurance companies, right? Like universally, apparently we hate health insurance companies.
I don't think we hate him. I think what we hate is no transparency and the frustration.
Well, I would love it if every CEO of every health insurance company today said, we're shutting down, there's no more health insurance. Congratulations, you won.
So
what the hell happens then?
Well, I think what happens then is the government goes, thank goodness, now we could totally take it over.
No, what would happen then is the government would attempt to take it over, or the same people that are screaming about the health insurance companies would demand that the healthcare providers provide them health care at no cost.
Yeah. Well, they want the government to run everything. Because
that's the way they look at it.
Yeah.
They look at the government running things as that doesn't cost me anything.
But they are running things. They restrict them from taking across lines.
I agree.
On top of that, they said, hey, Obamacare's here. Why don't you guys craft the law?
And one of the problems is, and we'll dig into this today too, you can't turn anyone down.
No.
In order for any business model to work, I have to be able to refuse your business.
Yeah.
I can't take everyone. And now health insurance companies have to accept you regardless of pre-existing conditions, which prevents them from keeping. There are reasons. Nobody wants to hear all of the reasons except, they're just evil.
No,
these companies aren't evil. They just want to make a profit.
We've got to have a place where people who have a pre-existing condition, lost their job, is able to get something that doesn't cost them $40,000 a month.
Do we? Do we? I mean, so that's a right that people have?
Well, no, you give them an opportunity. It's something fair, don't you think?
No. I think bad things happen to good people, and I think if you do not pre-plan the system that we currently have,
if you get fired from your job and you can't afford health insurance,
jobs should have nothing to do with health insurance. Nothing.
Well,
your
but they
employer
do.
should have nothing to do with health.
But they do.
Well,
and
but they
that's
should.
It
should be a relationship between you and the insurer, having nothing to do with your job and having nothing to do with the government.
If you are in a situation where, again, like I'll tell you this, what I pay a month, I could buy a $600,000 home, and
it should not be that way.
No, but it is. So it's insane. I'll spend about 40 plus grand on health insurance, and that, by the way, that's health insurance that I don't really use, and it's only there for catastrophic because my deductible is so huge. There's got to be a smart way of doing it, but. If you're just going to tell people, look, you've got diabetes and you don't have health insurance, you can't get any more, so you're going to have to die. That's a tough road for some people.
I believe if you open up the free market, you could create a lane for those individuals.
You're not going to open up because they all like regulation.
Well, because the government wants to take it over.
And not only that, but
give us 3 hours. Chad and I'll figure it all out.
We can. And we can also talk about, I don't know, all the other stuff. By the way, you're in for Brian on Friday.
I am.
I'm in for you. And
That's
then
right.
starting on the 2nd, you'll be Murphy in the afternoon. and I'll be
Benson
Ryan
in the
Seacrest in middays or whatever it is.
You look kind of like Ryan Seacrest.
I do.
Not really.
I look like 8 Ryan. Matt Murphy straight ahead. It is Chad in for Chris again tomorrow as well. Super Talk 997.
Hi.